Um, a parent submitted a question about eating. They shared that their child is a picky eater. How can they try to get them to eat different types of foods? And I see
That's
everyone smiling already.
that's because maybe I'm a picky eater.
So how do you help yourself with being a picky eater to get like healthier foods in, Monica?
I really try to be the mindset of like I could try everything, once. And I do feel like social pressures in a good way used, because like if I'm at somebody's home, or I will definitely try what they've made, or other kind of like cultural dishes. If somebody, I really try to like get outside my box in that way. Doesn't mean I like it, but I will always try. And so I try to really model that for my kids. And I really try to have them have that same take. You could just take a taste or try it, but that doesn't always mean they're going to eat it. So it is a hard one. That's a hard question.
Well, I've done I remember when Harrison was maybe two, and it's interesting because it's one of his favorite foods now, but he wouldn't eat broccoli, and that would just be like a vegetable that we would have with our meals. But we'd have chicken, and he loves dipping chicken in A1 sauce, and that was like his go-to. And I would tell him, well, first, take a tiny bite, and then you can dip your chicken in the broccoli. And it was never like, oh, that's easy, let me do it. I actually have a video of him arguing with me at the dinner table about, no, I don't want to do it. And I just stuck with it. And it was just one bite of the vegetable. And then he reluctantly ate it, and and that was just one time. Like, I didn't do it over and over during that mealtime. It was just one time of one food, because I knew that we would have this opportunity again. And he loves broccoli now. I don't think that's the reason why. Now it's like a preferred food, and he eats it with his meal anytime. That's like one that he'll request. So just small little, taking something that's already part of the meal and reserving it for trying the new food, licking the new food, taking a tiny little bite of the new food, without having to like, I'll give you dessert but it's already something that's part of the meal that they really enjoy. And so then that just becomes, they get that after. So I'm arranging the time that they can have the preferred part of the meal.
So instead of really big, eat this whole thing and then you get ice cream after, you're breaking it into little, like, small goals that are obtainable. And that also tells me that you're getting like 10 to 15 opportunities a meal potentially instead of one opportunity. That's really awesome.
Yeah. And you meet them where they're at. So if they're not willing to eat it, then it's like, take a tiny, tiny bite. Like, even now, I mean, he's 12, almost 12. And if I make something that's new and he's like, oh, I don't want to eat, I'm like, just 2 bites. I'm asking you just to take 2 bites of this. And I show him how big the bites are. And, and he knows that I'm not going to back down. And that's just 2 bites. I'm not asking you to eat the whole bowl of stuff, just 2 bites. And then he'll eat it. And he talks about it for a really long time about how terrible it was. But then later on, like, he'll actually request the meal. So you just have to try it. That's it.
So funny.
I know there's like different schools of thought around food, or I've heard a lot of stuff about like food, like making your kids try it versus putting it out there. And I know that there has been, just a lot of like discussion around that. And I'm not sure exactly where I land on all of it, because I think like generationally, I mean, I was told like you eat what's on your plate and you have to finish everything. And, now they kind of say that's not necessarily the best approach, and some food issues come up with that. So, I think that part of it's like just reinforcing that behavior too of trying new things. And like that should be kind of like what's first in the forefront, because you want your child to be able to explore and to try new things. And when presented with novel things, that's the behavior we really want to, increase. And hopefully they want to do it too, trying to figure out how to get their motivation to want to try, versus us just telling them they do it, and the second you're not there, they're not going to be doing that stuff. So
yeah, Monica, I agree with you. Like, in terms of making your child finish everything on the plate, I don't think it's a good idea. I think if they eat to the point where they feel full, then that's when they should stop eating. I don't think we should be teaching our children that eat everything on the plate. Now, keep in mind when you have that your kids putting the food on the plate before you guys sit down for dinner and they overdo it, maybe every once in a while it might be a lesson like, hey, you put everything on your plate, you're going to need to finish it. But I don't think that should be the norm. And one of the experiences we've had, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, milk. Milk is so expensive, and it used to drive me nuts that my children would fill up a cereal bowl and then fill it all the way to the rim with milk. And then by the time they were done, there was 90% of the milk still there. And I'm like, if I had a barrel and with my 3 children poured the milk into that barrel, a 55-gallon drum, I'm scared to see what I would see by the end of the year, by the end of the couple of months. So what we did is we started pouring the milk for them, showing them, and then now it's not an issue. But we didn't force them to finish the milk. We just showed them, like, you lost the opportunity to pour your own milk. And they would always say, that's not enough. And then they would finish their breakfast without any question. But yeah, in my experience too, it's like we put a small, like, if, all 3 kids were different. I have one that loves eating vegetables and greens and doesn't like to eat bread or fried food. I have another that loves fruits. And then my oldest, it's like, he maybe would pick, 3 to 5 things, and that was it. And there were no vegetables, there were no fruits included. And he was the challenge. But, making them, if you want to say make them, at least putting a small portion of that food on their plate. And we try to minimize dessert. Like what we would do is we would have family time eating dinner together. And then when it was time to leave, they would have to stay until they ate that small portion of their vegetables, which made it a lot easier. But yeah, try to minimize, of course, what we give or what you give your children when it comes to desserts. That shouldn't be the norm, in my opinion. I think that, if you want to raise, healthy children, depending on the type of dessert, try to minimize the sugar too.
I think keeping it in a positive place, like you said, Monica, is really important. It's very easy as a parent to slip into like the please just eat this, like it's not that bad, just do it, that type of language, because you're having your own frustrations. But keeping it really fun and positive is a really effective strategy. We refused to eat scrambled eggs as kids, and my dad put them on the table and we're like, we don't eat those. And he just goes, no, those are scrambolis. And what did we do? We ate all of the scrambolis, and we still call them scrambolis. And we have toodle noodle casserole. We have just keep it in a positive place, because you'll just find that sometimes it's a really great redirection and it makes it really fun.
Scrambolis. I love it.
So your dad was rebranding.
He's rebranding.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good one.
It's all how you present it, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's true.
We do also like finding it. We do a little bit of the sibling pressure, where like we try to really reinforce the kiddos that are trying the new things, or just make it a big deal. Like, wow, it was like they really like, if one of my kids is trying and the other 2 just won't, we just make it a really big deal. And then hopefully they sometimes my 3rd one is like, yeah, I'm not buying into this, but but the other 2, they'll kind of compete. Like, I want that, like they want to be in on it too. So especially when we go out to restaurants, like it's kind of nice because you definitely get exposure to new things. And like Cameron and I like different things. But it's nice because they'll try even like the spicy foods and things like that. And then they'll just like, at least just having that opportunity to try, like that's all I really want them to do. So I think it's fun when there's a little bit of competition, if your kids are into that. Sometimes it works.
For sure. I mean, I love that, what you're saying is it's like reinforcing the things that we want to see more and let the other children learn through modeling.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. Yeah.
Thanks to that parent that submitted that question. That is a very difficult situation, as you can see here. So for those of you that have additional questions or thoughts about this, please let us know. We'd be happy to answer.